Cherise Bayless, and today we're discussing to drug test for welfare recipients or not. How many of you have been drug tested for a job? That makes a lot of people. How about to compete in an athletic program? What about for your church? Sometimes in a church they drug test to be a youth pastor or to deal with the youth, they have you drug tested. Drug testing is widely used in the job market. It can be from a pre-employment screen to a post-screen. The status of the economy in the state of Michigan is gloomy, and there are more and more citizens that need help with health care, paying utility bills, also feeding their families, just trying to keep their head above water. This year we'll be faced with the most devastating changes to our health care, with unemployment at 1% higher than the national average. This is going to be a definite upward slope in the welfare need. There are two bills that are being recognized in our state government, the Senate Bill 904 and the House Bill 5223. These bills are being introduced as a pilot program to use suspicion-based drug testing for cash assistance welfare recipients. There are many reasons why this bill has not passed, and many reasons why it should be passed. Today, my teammate and I are here to discuss these with you. We will give you a brief background to the terms, statistics, pros and cons of these bills, and we will follow up with individual points for drug testing. Before we start giving you our differences on this topic, let's visit some commonly misunderstood words. As you can see here, a welfare recipient, a person, child, or family that get benefits from the state. Welfare benefits, there's a lot more benefits than even what we have listed. People get benefits, they get car stipends, they get gas stipends, they can get help to get tires in their car, so they can get to work. There's lots of benefits that are available for people in need. The term drug testing has been bashed in the media, and several public rights activists really don't like the term drug testing. Drug testing, as you can see, is defined by using urine, hair, saliva, or sweat to detect the presence of drugs in a system. And it can test everything from regular prescription drugs all the way up until illegal drugs. Having a better understanding of these terms will give you an opportunity to help you decide your stance. According to the state notes posted in the State of Michigan website, in 1999, Michigan introduced a pilot program for drug testing upon suspicious list recipients. That means someone that they didn't even think was taking drugs. They would test them just because. There were 435 recipients tested, 10.3 tested positive. I know it sounds like a small number, but that's 43 people that tested positive that were getting state aid. Later on that year, the ALCU sued the state, saying that it was a violation of their Fourth Amendment rights. Does anyone remember what the Fourth Amendment is? No? It is search and arrest warrants. And to be exact, it's the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures. So basically, when that suit happened, they were told to stop drug testing. While this testing stopped for a while, other states would learn from our mistake Michigan made and move forward with different legislation. So I'll let Cherise take you into the next group of information that we have.
To give you some background information on the welfare system in Michigan in 2012, there were over almost 2.5 million welfare recipients in Michigan. In 2013, the budgeted spending allotment was $6.4 million. As of March of this year, there are almost 49,000 open cases of people getting help from the state. Over 120,000 are either children or adults that are currently getting benefits. There are nearly 1.8 million people on food assistance, including cash assistance. The average cost of drug testing is $40. This cost could be offset by having a contract with a company or even charging the recipient to be tested. These costs are something you have to see administering the test. The ultimate factor is who will benefit and who will suffer. With the background information given, stats reviewed, and curiosity of the topic opened, let's get back to our main point. Should drug testing be imposed in our state for those who receive any type of state welfare assistance? We're going to go back over to Cindy.
I propose that the state of Michigan impose a mandatory drug testing of all welfare recipients in the state of Michigan, either to obtain new benefits or to renew their current benefits. I want to be clear, I'm not talking about taking away benefits from children, because I know that's a very touchy subject. I'm speaking of a large number of adults, single adults, that are on welfare. As far as parents with children go, there should be a special program for them. So if they are found using drugs, why would we want a child in that situation? Of course we will want that child removed. As Representative Jeff Farrington of Utica says, Michigan taxpayers work far too hard to see their tax money spent on illegal drugs. As working Michiganders, as you, myself, Charisse, all of us, we pay taxes. We are drug tested to have an employee job to get a paycheck. Shouldn't they be tested to get money from us, our hard-earned money? There are even some employers that require semi-annual testing or even testing when they're in an accident, like a semi driver. They're tested when there's an accident, even something minor. As we learned from our mistake in 1999, state notes from the Michigan government website states, there is new legislation that is being formed within the chambers of our Michigan House and Senate. These bills are being formed today. Not only will they help our welfare system, they will help stop drugs. While there's a cost to drug testing, the cost will outweigh the savings testing will create in the welfare system. The recipient should pay a fee to be tested. If the recipient is found to be using drugs, they should either have an option to join a drug abuse program or to lose their benefits. Savings we can gain from implementing a program like this would be beneficial to our crumbling finances in Michigan. If a potential recipient decides to apply for benefits, knowing they have to be tested, they would either stop applying or it could help them stay off drugs because they would realize that they needed the money more than they did the drugs. We, meaning the government and taxpayers, have an ability to take any savings from this implementation and use it towards programs that have need, such as the adoption and foster care programs. Like Florida, Kansas, and even Minnesota, we see a decrease of applicants because they are afraid to test positive, decreasing the amount of caseload on the social workers. According to state notes again, in the state of Michigan website, Florida had only a 5% decrease in their caseload, and it made a large difference to what they were able to do for other people. There's so many pros to this topic. Let's look at just one more. Values. We all have them. We hold them very dear, and others just really don't care. I value the human being, the living, breathing person that deserves a fighting chance. If we impose this program, we can give illicit drug users a chance on a new drug-free life, and also by valuing our finances, we can take the money we saved to open up opportunities to give others another chance that they never had. And here is my teammate, Charisse.
Again, I'm on the negative side of this subject. I would like to keep it status quo. I do not feel that imposing the drug testing would benefit the state at all. According to the state of Florida, who has a program in place, or they had a program in place, there were minimal savings to the welfare fund. Ultimately, it cost Florida $45,000 to test their applicants. Basically what they did is, of the 45,780 applicants, they all had to pay for the drug test up front, and it was $35 to $40. If they tested negative, then the state reimbursed them for the cost. Only 108 of them tested positive. So basically they covered the $35 fee, $35 to $40 fee per applicant, and they basically spent $45,000 doing that. There was a very minimal decrease in the applicants, change in the applicants in Florida for people applying for it, so it didn't show that it was making a major deterrent. It actually showed that the people on welfare really were not abusing drugs. And the ones that did show positive, the majority of them were testing positive for marijuana. Moving on, if a recipient is to be found using, then what? That opens up a whole new can of worms, basically, because then we have to do something with that person, and if they're responsible for children, we then now have to do something for them, and we are not equipped with these bills to address all of that at this point in time. And again, if they are found, then and they are receiving state assistance, does that mean the state's going to be paying for their drug rehab? You know, again, I will agree with my colleague or my teammate that we don't want children in households where people are using drugs, but the state of Michigan would then have to be additionally responsible for that. Again, with the drug tests being $40 per test, I mean, that's not cheap. When you're talking about thousands of people, that's very expensive. Children could very much be affected with this because their parents are the ones receiving benefits on their behalf. And again, once they're tested positive, that puts a liability on the state to do something with that positive drug test. And that's what I have for my negative side, and we will go back to Cindy for her rebuttal.
I, again, propose the state of Michigan to impose a mandatory drug test of all welfare recipients. If I have to go to work and I have to take a drug test and I'm getting paid a paycheck, who's ever getting my taxpayer dollars should have to do the same thing and be held responsible. Due to this mandate, the benefit will outweigh the cost of a test. It's $40. Yes, it's a lot of money, but there could be a lot of positive outcomes from this. My opponent says that children will be affected. She stated that the cost of drug testing would be a burden and this type of mandate would not free up funds. Of course children would be affected. They would be benefiting by having their caregivers not using illicit drugs, and they would be opening up to a positive chance in life. According to my research, 29 states have introduced proposals that require drug testing and screening, even screening, for public assistance requests. According to the National Conference of State Legislatures, 8 states have passed legislature, including Utah. They have a questionnaire that has to be filled out, and if they're found to be using drugs, then there's repercussions. Kansas passed a bill that requires drug testing for everyone, including suspicion-based testing. In November of 2012, Oklahoma passed a bill requiring screens of all adult applicants for cash assistance. That's just cash assistance. That's not food stamps, that's not children care, that's just cash assistance. Why can't we hold people accountable? Who are using our taxpayer money? We are held accountable to pay our taxes. We get drug tested to earn a paycheck, and so should they.
Again, I firmly believe that we should stay status quo. The drug testing is costly and should not be implemented in the state of Michigan because the additional costs it will cause. While welfare recipients using drugs is a definite issue, if they have the means to buy drugs, they could be better used to relieve some of the state's financial burden, but the money that they're receiving from the state isn't necessarily going to drugs. Drug testing is not cost effective and will not solve the state's financial issues. If they're trying to solve the financial issues by lessening what they pay out in welfare, this is not the way to go about it. This was piloted in Florida and it failed badly. It was repealed by the courts and the state was even sued over it. Michigan does not need the drug testing for welfare. Our frail economy just cannot afford it. In conclusion, you have heard both sides of a very hot topic. The passing of legislature to implement a program to drug test welfare recipients is at ground level. This will affect each one of us in some way. You may know someone that could be affected. We have laid out all our cards, and there's one thing that stands out. If we do nothing, children will be affected. If we pass a bill to support mandatory drug testing, children will be affected. This impacts our society. One thing we can agree upon is our taxpayer-paying dollars need to go to good use. But supporting an illicit drug user should be crossed off the list. Is there any questions?